All right, so shalom, 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 shalom. It's not Shabbat shalom yet, but it is shalom. So for the record, this is not legal advice. I do not offer legal advice. If you need legal advice, seek yourself a competent counsel, and please be advised everything I'm about to give you is strictly for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. Do not take any of this as legal advice. Therefore, if you use any of this information and you fall flat on your face, it's your own fault. Always tell everybody to go check out everything. Don't believe anything that I say. Go and check it out for yourself. And if you don't check out for yourself, it's your own fault. First and foremost, I'm going to tell all you under the sounds of my voice right now to go ahead and register for the webinar that's actually going to take place tomorrow. I'm going to not only be showing folks how to do the assumed name again, but actually going into detail as to why and how one should use it. So what I've learned, the people that have it doesn't even know how to use it effectively. And so that's a real problem. And so besides that, we're going to be going over how to exist effectively as a creditor, as a SPC. So definitely go ahead and tune into this webinar, and we'll definitely help you out a lot if you have my book already, Commercial Warfare. Next book we'll be going through after that is Red Pill Right Knowledge. So go ahead and get your registrations in now by clicking the link below this video. Click the link below the video and it'll take you to the registration page. You would tender the payment or donation and go ahead and get pre-registered. Now, you can make all kinds of excuses and you're going to get the same results that you've actually previously received, which is negative results, or at best, you remain stagnated. I haven't a time for semantics. I'm far too busy. And you need to take on that mindset to get yourself out of the conditions that you're in right now. Some of you, you're not living, you're just existing. You're just existing, and you're existing on a poverty-stricken level, and you're angry because of this. Now, I want to give you some remedy, right? For educational purposes only. Now, I want to teach you real quick how, if you know the Constitution of the Republic, you can win in a court of record. See, the problem most of you, when you're going into these courts, you can't discern a true court of record from a Nisi Prius court. So many of you, you're going into these Nisi Prius courts and you're not getting remedy. You're saying, tell the doc, hey, they just ignored my documents and so on and so forth. And you've actually had remedy for that over years, but you don't listen well and you don't watch these videos 10 to 15 times as I suggest. You have to watch these videos, man. Why? Because according to research, you only retain approximately 7% of what you read. So you can't just read it once and think you're going to get it. Again, I shouldn't have to say this. Thumbs up as you come into the room. So now, first, in order for you to win, in order for you to have, and there be these so-called free men out there that's going to argue this, that, oh, well, there's no such thing as a true court anyway. They're all colorable. But I'm here to tell you there are still courts of records out there, right? And this is how you get remedy, is by going into a true court of record, right? So what is a true court of record? A court of record, according to Black Lewis Fourth, right? It has a power to fine or imprison for contempt. That's one thing the court of record has. Number two, it keeps a record of the proceedings. So if you're going into a court and the proceedings is not recorded, it's definitely not a court of record, because there's no record. Everything that you're saying is not being pressed in the record. So essentially, the only thing that one is actually getting from that kind of court is the judge's note. And you know he's not going to take them in your favor. The robe's not going to take notes in your favor. Thumbs up as you come in. Now, the third thing about a court of record is it proceeds according to the common law, not according to statutes or codes. It proceeds according to the common law, right? The fourth thing about a court of record, a true court of record, not a Nisi Prius court, the tribunal is independent of the magistrate. That means there is no robe rendering any kind of decisions in a true court of record. Not according to Tyler Dark, get Black Lewis Fourth, not the revised edition, the original Fourth. And the fifth thing about a true court of record is it generally has a seal. That's optional. Now, what's essential about this, Jason? What's essential about this? What's essential is that I need you to please take note that the robe is a magistrate and is not the tribunal. I'll say that again. The robe, the one dressed in the black, that's a magistrate and is not the tribunal. The tribunal is either the aggrieved man himself, which if he's truly an American national, he's in a sovereign capacity, or it's a fully empowered jury that is not paid by the de facto. I believe you call that thing government. Black Law's fourth edition. Now, according to international law, right, the person in the suit of the sovereign, the place where the sovereign sojourns with his regional Ritzun, whenever they may be. That's according to international law, court of record. So, what's the classification of this? Courts, brothers and sisters, may be classified and divided according to several different methods. The court of record, and then there's courts not a record. Now, the former, the court of record, being those which acts and judicial proceedings or enroll, or should I say recorded, for a perpetual memory and a testimony, and which have power to fine, they have power to imprison for contempt. But the error lies in their judgment, and they possess a seal. Now, courts not a record, these Nisi Prius courts, which we mostly have today, right? They are inferior. They have no power to fine or imprison, in which the proceedings are not enrolled, and the proceedings are generally not recorded. A court of record is a judicial tribunal having attributes, and the magistrate is designated generally to hold it, and the proceedings being essentially enrolled for perpetual memorial so that one can remember. So now we should have a distinction here between a court of record and a Nisi Prius court. So overstanding that. Now, one thing that you people should do that you don't is to understand the Constitution of the Republic. The nation was built on a republic. What they're giving you now is democracy. And essentially you're seeing what a problem that really is. So I'm going to go over a few things. The Constitution. Constitution is a contract. The Constitution essentially was not designed for you. The Constitution was designed to keep the public servants in order for getting out of control. Now, there's one clause of the Constitution that we all should know, and it's referred to as the Supremacy Clause. U.S. Constitution, Article 6, Clause 2. That's a Supremacy Clause. And it states as thus. Matter of fact, let me share my screen on this one. Let me share my screen on this so you can see this for yourself. The Supremacy Clause. And every single one of you should know this, because there will come a day that you would actually need to defend oneself. And the truth is, most of you cannot do so from that capacity in which you exist in right now. So, Constitution, U.S. Constitution, Article 6, Clause 2, which is the Supremacy Clause. It states as thus: this Constitution and laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. Ato, stop. It's clear right there in the supremacy clause that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Why is this important? Not only is it important, it's essential. Why? Because according to this, anything that conflicts with the Constitution, it is not law. It is void on its face, because the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, according to the supremacy clause that you see on the screen right now, Article 6, Clause 2. Let's continue on. And judges in every state shall be bound thereby. So judges in every state are obliged to obey the constitutional oath. If a judge goes against, if a robe goes against the Constitution, he's warring against the Constitution, which is an act of treason. Do you understand? Judges in every state. So why are you guys going in and say, oh, do you have a constitutional oath? Is it really necessary? Not if you know the supremacy clause. You point them to this. They're all obliged to uphold this Constitution. According to the supremacy clause, judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the constitutional law of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. So anything that conflicts with the Constitution has no standing. U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, Article 1. Let's look at it. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, freedom of religion, or abridging the freedom of speech, freedom of speech. So essentially, the de facto has created monstrous social media platforms where you can no longer exercise your freedom of speech, because when you go into these platforms, you unwittingly sign a disclaimer by agreeing to use the site that if you exercise your freedom of speech, they could unban you from the site. They could flag your content and eventually ban you from the site. But is it really effective? It's an adhesion contract. Did you read it all? They're going to tell you, well, you're supposed to go and read this, but I contend that it's an adhesion contract. So, Bill of Rights, Article 1. Congress shall make no laws respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or the press. The press is supposed to have freedom. Why is it micromanaged today? Or the right of the people to peacefully assemble. Now, a right is something that you don't ask for permission for. Why am I saying this? Because you have groups like BLM, they go and ask for a permit to protest. According to the Constitution, that is not required. But you people don't know the contract. The law. Wait. This Constitution is a contract, and contract is law. Law is contract, and contract is law. So if you knew the contract, things would be so much better for you. You wouldn't get railroaded by briefcases and robes. So we see here that you have a right to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. You understand what I mean? Let's go to Article 2. Since you guys don't know this, it would behoove you to review this, because many of your rights are being trampled upon and you're utterly unaware. U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, Article 2. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people. They didn't say that this was a privilege. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, When people start adding to this, that's not in the Constitution, man. When people start telling you we got to impose more gun laws, that is not in the Constitution. What someone else, what a psych patient that came off of his meds too quick does, it has nothing to do with me and my weapon. What does that have to do with me? I didn't go out here and just go haywire with my weapon. So why is there a mandate for you? In some states, you can't even have weapons, or you got to ask for a permit. You know why? Because you allow it, because you consent. This all happens because you consent. Thumbs up as you come in the room. Secret balance. U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, Article 4. The right of the people. Emphasis added. It's a right, right? Not of the persons, but of the people. Now, there is a distinction here. The right of the people to secure in their person houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. How in the hell a few years ago did they pass warrantless searches in Washington, D.C., Virginia, and Maryland? Warrantless searches is warring against the Constitution. Why? Because you consent. Because they did it and you said nothing. They tell you, how this is the law. This is what we were supposed to do, and you go for it. Okay. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause. So they're not supposed to be able to get a warrant unless there's a probable cause. If you're not clear on what probable cause is, you really need to get smart on that quick. You really need to get smart on that fast, right? Supported by oath or affirmation. That means whoever gives that probable cause, or say they have probable cause, it has to be supported by an oath. That means they gotta swear or affirm. Do you solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that I granted you consent to search my conveyance? And particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So it's telling you here that a warrant does not dictate them searching my entire home. It's specific. Warrants are specific. Sounds like to me your rights are being violated. The man that does not stand up for his rights have none. Article 5, U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, Article 5. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in casings arising in the land of naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy. So they can't charge you for the same thing twice, is what it's saying here, of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any crime to be a witness against himself. Can't testify against yourself. And the way that the law works, your wife or your husband is acknowledged as yourself. They're not supposed to be able to testify against you for educational purposes, for those of you that's unaware of that. Nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So you're entitled to due process of law. So when you go into these venues and you're not permitted to speak, that is not due process of law. That is warring against the Constitution. But what do? You just go along with the program. That's consent. You're giving consent. It's because you consent. Don't say it doesn't work. You just consent. Thumbs up as you come in the room, David. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Bill of Rights, Article 6. In any criminal prosecution, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusations to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to be the compulsory process for attaining witnesses in his favor, and to have assistance or counsel for his desire. So essentially, it's saying right here, David, that you're entitled, thumbs up as you come in the room, that you're entitled to a trial by jury in any criminal offense. And if you can't afford an attorney, they will provide one for you. Yeah, all right. You want to go that route? Put a counterclaim in here, but yeah. I won't go over that just yet. Continue with the Constitution. Most people don't know these. If you knew these, you would be much better off in life, David. U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, Article 7. In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20. Listen well, folks. Jimmy Lashia. Shalom, shalom. In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. So what is this saying? It's saying even in a civil case, I want you guys to muse over what I'm saying here. Even in a civil case, that child support, that's a civil case. Landlord-tenant disputes, that's a civil case. Where's the jury? Traffic court, that's a civil case. Where is the jury? Does that not make those courts illegal? According to Article 7 of the Constitution, I contend that it does. It says if there's any kind of fee, $20 or more, you're entitled to a trial by jury, even in a civil venue. Can you people not see that you're being railroaded by not knowing this stuff? Now you see how essential this stuff is? Now you see why I studied this stuff for years? This stuff is important, man. So it's important that you know these things, man. So they dragging you into a family court, there's no jury. It's just you and the person of the magistrate. So you got one person, and if he's in a bad mood, even if you're right, he's going to show you your ass that day. You understand what I'm saying? And you're done. It's supposed to be a tribunal. U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, Article 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines in prison, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. How many of you think all of that's violated? Excessive bail. Some of you can't post bail, they raise it so high. Again, that's warring against the Constitution. It's not supposed to be that way. So what they do, these people that come into office, they make up their own statutes and they call it law. And it stands because, you know what? You don't say anything in opposition. You consent. Things are the way that they are because you keep consenting. Clean ain't got no problem with you, man. Every time I hit you, man, you won't pick up. Man, ain't got no problem with you, Clean. It's all good, man. Article 9. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Article 10. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states, respectively, are to the people. The people are the states. Now, latches occur. Now, when you don't enforce this thing, latches occur. What are latches? What are you talking about, Tyler? Is that closing the door on something? Nah, man, it doesn't mean that. So, latches. This is a doctrine of latches, right? It's based upon maxims that equity aids the valiant and not those who slumber on their rights. So that means if you wait around too long, latches occur. That means bad things will happen and it will be less favorable to you. Neglect or omission to do what one should do as warrants presumptions that one has abandoned right or claim. That's case law. So if you neglect to do what's supposed to be done, you're wavering your rights. Marbury versus Madison. No provision 5 USC 137, 1803. Marbury versus Madison. No provision of the Constitution is designed to be without effect. That means that the entire thing's in effect. Anything that is in conflict is null and void of law. So anything that the system may come up with that's in conflict with this Constitution of the Republic, it is not law at all. According to case law, ruling against it, a Shalom, Brother Dark Man, Marbury versus Madison. Anything that conflicts is null and void of law. Clearly, for a secondary law to come into conflict with the supreme law was illogical. For certain, the supreme law would prevail over all other laws, and certainly our forefathers had intended that the supreme law would be the basis of all law, and for law to come into conflict would be null and void of law. It would bear no power to enforce, would bear no obligations to obey. You understand that? It would purport to settle as it had never existed. To those of you that can receive it, right? Would date from the enchantment of such law, not from the date so branded in an open court of law. No courts are bound to uphold it, and no citizens are bound to obey it. It operates as a mere nullity or a fiction law. This is case law, man. Marbury versus Madison. It says that you're not obliged to obey it if it conflicts the Constitution. You see that, David Lehman? Shepard citation. A group of reporters that go through and keep track of all court cases that have come before the courts, especially the Supreme Court, and they clarify before the court all the cases. All cases which have cited Marbury versus Madison case to the Supreme Court has not ever been overturned. See Shepard's citation of Marbury versus Madison. Title 5 U.S. Code, Section 556 Delta. Courts lose jurisdiction if they do not follow due process. Do you guys hear this? What am I giving you? It's remedy. Courts lose jurisdiction if they do not follow due process. Title 18 U.S. Code 2381. In the presence of two or more witnesses of the same overt act or in an open court of law, if you fall to timely move to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and honor your oath of office, you are subject to the charge of capital felony treason. Where did they get that from? They got that from Matthew 18, verse 15. In the mouth of two or more witnesses. Do you understand? America's jurisprudence. To those of you that's unaware of what American jurisprudence says, America's jurisprudence is encyclopedias of law. And it states as thus in Book 16, constitutional law section. 16, American jurisprudence, section 2D, section 97. Then a constitution should receive a literary interpretation in favor of the citizens. So this means, I'm advocating this, so I hope you guys are getting. This means if it comes down to you interpreting the Constitution, or a robe or a briefcase interpreting the Constitution, your interpretation is more accurate according to this, according to Americans' jurisprudence. Then a constitution should receive a literal interpretation in favor of the citizens is especially true with respect to the provisions which were designed to safeguard the liberty and the security of the citizens in regards to person and property. Berry versus the United States, 273. That's case law talk, man. 16, American jurisprudence, section 98. While an emergency cannot create powers and no emergency justifies the violations of any of the provisions of the United States Constitution or the state's constitution, public emergencies such as an economic depression for especially liberal constructions of constitutional powers, and it has been declared that because of the national emergency, it is the policy of the courts of times of national peril so liberally to construe the special powers vested in the chief executive as to sustain the executor the purpose thereof, and to end also more liberally to construe the constituted divisions and classifications of the powers of the coordinate branches of government, and in so far as may not be clearly inconsistent with the Constitution. So anything that comes against this Constitution doesn't have any standing, man. According to what we're learning here from American jurisprudence. 16, American jurisprudence, 2D, section 98, section 97. I want to read all of this. I'll leave it on the screen for a minute. And so once again, while I have you, I'm going to invite you to come out to the webinar tomorrow, 12 noon to 6 p.m. and Sunday, 12 noon to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to give clarity on how you should be using the assumed name for educational purposes. Most of you that have it, you don't know how to effectively use it. Jeremiah had an incident and he did not use it effectively. So I think we need to talk about that. And we're going to talk about how to move effectively as a secure party creditor. If you do not have my book, Commercial Warfare, get that book. We will be using that book tomorrow, most high willing, 12 noon to 6 p.m. Be there and be square. Marty Martin's getting some serious remedy, man. See how happy Marty was last night. So you should have read that by now. 16, American jurisprudence, 2D, section 257. The actual existence of a statute prior to determination that it is unconstitutional is an operative fact and may have consequences which cannot justify being ignored. When a statute which has been in effect for some time is declared unconstitutional, questions of rights claimed to have become vested of status a prior determination deemed to have fatally and act upon accordingly, and public policy in the light of the nature. Both the statute and its previous applications demand examination. It has been said that in all inclusive statements, a principle of absolute retroactive inviolability cannot be justified. An unconstitutional statute is not necessarily a nullity. It may have indeterminate consequences binding of the people. So, folks, it would behoove you to learn this Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Let's look at Murdoch versus Penn. Case law. A state may not impose a charge for the enjoyment of a right granted by the federal constitution, and that a flat license tax here involves restraints and advance the constitutional liberties of press and religion, and the inevitability tends to suppress their existence. That the ordinance is non-discriminatory, and is applies also to peddlers of wares and merchandise is immaterial. The liberties granted by the First Amendment are an in preferred position, since the privilege in question is granted by the federal constitution and exists independently of the state's authority. The inquiry as to whether the state has given something for which it cannot ask a return is irrelevant. No state, emphasis on that, no state may convert any secured liberty, like the right to travel, into a privilege and issue a license or a fee for it. So let me show you how they're doing that, Kim McGuire. The state issues you a driver's license, which is essentially a right to travel. Then they convert it into a privilege and they require a fee for it. That's the driver's license, man. That's the driver's license. Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham, Alabama. If the state does not convert your right into a privilege and issue a license, if the state does, Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham. If the state does convert your right into a privilege and issue a license and a fee for it, the driver's license, you can ignore the license and a fee and engage the right with impunity. It's right there, man. Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham, Alabama is case law. So how is it nowadays that the constables and the troopers are writing you so many damn traffic citations and making you pay? As we see right here, man, if you knew this stuff, perhaps you would be enforcing it. As you see, you probably need to study more and more and more. So when I tell you to watch the videos 10 to 15 times, that's what you need to be doing. That's what you should be doing. United States versus Bishop, 412 U.S. 346, sets the standards for criminal violations of willful intent. It must be proven that you are the party. It must be proven that you had the method or opportunity to do the thing. And number 3, it must be proven that you did it with will of intent. So the reason that many of you get in trouble and you lose is because you go in talking, you keep trying to prove you're innocent. You don't understand how the law works. They have to prove that you're guilty. Willfulness, an evil motive or intent to avoid a known duty or task under a law with a moral certainty. Title 18, U.S. Code, Section 241 and Section 242. If upon conviction, you are subject to a $10,000 fine, 10 years in jail, or both, and if theft, resort to life in prison. You hear that? Title 42, U.S. Code 1983 and 1985 clearly establish the right to sue anyone who violates your constitutional rights. So under Title 42, 1983, anyone that violates your constitutional rights, you could sue them according to this. Do you not have a right to travel? Do you not have a freedom of liberty? Does it not state in case law that someone cannot convert a right into a privilege, then issue a license for it and make you pay a fee? I contend that it did. We just went over it. So on the Title 42, 1983, could not one sue for it? I contend that you can, according to this. It clearly established the right to sue anyone who violates your constitutional rights. Or should I say the rights reserved by the Constitution? The Constitution guarantees he who would unlawfully jeopardize your property loses property to you. And that's what justice is all about, folks. Judge, you're talking to the robe now. Robe, you are deemed to know the law and are sworn to uphold it. You can hardly claim that you acted in good faith for willful defamation of a law, and you certainly cannot plead ignorance of the law, for that would make the law look stupid. For a knowledgeable robe judge to claim ignorance of the law when a citizen of the street cannot claim ignorance of the law. There's no excuse, they say. Therefore, there's no judicial immunity. So they're not immune in this particular situation, man. Miranda. Remember the Miranda? That's where it came from versus Arizona. So it would behoove you folks to learn these constitutional laws. You understand? It will highly behoove you to learn these things, right? Don't wait. Don't wait until you're in trouble. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until you're in court like most people do. Most of you run into a law office. You run and get an attorney. And essentially what happens in those scenarios, the attorney will take as much as your fee out, if not all of it, that he could get from you. I know someone is going through an issue like that right now. Michael Brown's girlfriend, or whatever she may be. The attorney's already got her for over $450,000. She came into some fiat. The briefcases are ravishing her, and she still hasn't gotten remedy. Ask the typical drug dealer. All the money that they gave the attorney should have been their money for bail. But if you go in as a defendant, the chances of you winning is very unlikely. This is why you should be on these streams learning about how the authorized representative of Kahan Tazadak uses his assumed name as a business entity. Let me see your driver's license. Well, I don't have that. Here, I have this. You know what this is? That name right there is my business. I'm doing business as that name. Any charge that you're bringing is going against that business. What are you going to do? Sue the corporation? Anything that you bring is going against that business name. See, I have it right here. See, I have a certificate of certification. That's how you use it. So tomorrow we're going to go over how to use this stuff. Most of you don't know how to use this stuff, man. You're just doing what you see. You're cookie cutters. You do what you see others doing. You don't know why you do it, though. You just saw Doug doing it. So now you do it. You understand? And you're not learning it, man. You're not learning it. You know, Marty's getting remedy. Marty's happy, man. Marty's very happy last night. Yeah, man, I can get some serious remedy, man. You know why? Because he bit down on his mouthpiece and he mastered his craft. Now he's getting remedy. Some of you just want to do it halfway. You can't do that, man. You got to do it all the way. You got to burn the midnight oil. You can't just talk about your talk about burning the midnight oil. Yeah, you got one of my books. Yeah, I got it. Have you read it? Yeah, I got it. Now, I asked you something from the book. Well, I haven't gotten that far yet. How long you had it? 2 years. 2 years you haven't read the book. You wait until you get in trouble and you start calling me. Come on, man. What is that all about? That you expect, it's just like anything else, man. If you don't put time into it, you're not going to be good at it, man. You think Kobe Bryant was great as he was? But I said, well, I'll just shoot ball, man, when it's time for a game. No practice? Are you kidding me, guy? You know how you get great? See, you know how I learned this stuff? I learned this stuff. He said, yeah, tells the doc, man, I want to be like you, man. Cool, man. You riding around, big bodies, man. You know what I mean? Nice, tire, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I cannot be like you. So, man, you don't want to be like me, man. See, you don't understand the struggle. Let me tell you why you don't want to be like me, right? Because you didn't see the Tyler Doc that was putting in damn hours upon hours, falling asleep reading law books, falling asleep researching things. Not online, I mean books, cross-referencing things. You didn't see that Tyler Doc. You just see the one that's out front saying, yo, man, secure party creditor all the way, man. Stop being a debtor, be a secure party creditor. You didn't see the Tyler Doc, man, that say, man, I'm not going to work back in the system, man. No matter what I face, I'm not going back, man. See, you didn't see the Tyler Doc that walked away from 2 just over brokes, man. 2 jobs working for the city. According to a lot of you, city in New York, according to a lot of you, you're just making good money as a slave. As a slave. You didn't see the Tyler Doc that walked away from those jobs and ended up homeless, living out of a fucking car that wouldn't start. You didn't see that guy. The only guy that you're interested in is the guy that you see out front now. You didn't see the guy that had to struggle. You're not familiar with that guy. You just think, poof, dumb things come out of thin air. Now, man, there's a lot of grind. There's a lot of hustle. There's a lot of struggling. There's a lot of pain. But you know what you do, man? When you experience pain, man, you always take the path of the lesser resistance. You back away from the pain. You run away from the struggle. So you're still being told what to do. You want to take vacations when you can't. You want to call out. Sometimes you don't feel like going into work. You want to call out, but you can't. Why? Because the employer is a master. The employee is the slave. You understand that, right? Very simple language, right? The lender, scriptures say it like this: the lender is the master and the borrower is the slave. And they sell you the American dream, right? The American dream tells you, oh yeah, go to school, come out, get a good job. How's that working out for you? They forgot to tell you the part about you're not going to be able to afford it. Your student loan is going to hit you 6 months later, and you're going to have to move back in with mom dudes, right? And she said, don't be bringing no damn women in my house. You're a grown-ass man. And she might be telling that to her daughter. Don't be running them damn men in my house. They didn't tell you that part. But some of you that managed to get a just over, bro, what do? You don't think to be an entrepreneur. You don't think to learn how to put something aside. You run out. Yeah, I got to finally get me a house now. Can you really afford it? No, not really. Because you still got $120,000 student loan. But no matter that, you think you're going to have your just over broke forever. So you're going to get a mortgage. $2,100 a month. Got your student loan. But you need something to drive. And Shalissa is driving around a little Mercedes 3 Series, but what the hell she cares? She's a Negro, and she just want to look like the corporate America. She just wanted a Mercedes. Didn't matter if it was a little 3 Series. She went and got a little bug-eyed Benz 3 Series, right? And she thinks she's better than everyone from where she came from. So you say, damn, I'm going to outdo her. So you're going to get an E-Class. So now you got a payment, you got a car note that is $800 a month. Might be worse than that if your credit's not that great, right? So now you got your mortgage, you got your student loan, a car note, you got groceries, you're going to work, you got your job, you was happy in the beginning, suddenly you're not happy. You're depressed all the time, you're in bad moods. Your relationships fell because you're in bad moods because you don't have the fear. The system knows this. This is systematically designed to be this way. You're all told the same thing, man. You go to school, you went to school for something in humanitarian. So you're only making between 30 and 50 some thousand a year. Those of you that get a little high above, you make the 70 figures, but it's still not enough to retire on. So you put something aside for your retirement, but it's not enough. You don't invest in any kind of funds or anything of that nature. So what do? They tell you to work hard, you get the raise, get raised. So you get a raise. What do when you get the raise? You go and get some more expensive stuff. You don't put anything back. You don't put anything to the side. And so that's the life of most people. I'm talking to most people right now. That's your life. When you get a little extra, you don't make an investment. You don't put that aside. You go and now we could get a bigger apartment. Oh yeah, now we could get a bigger house, get another bedroom. So you right back where you was. You're not being productive, and you're just being a consumer. It's the reason why you should be on my webinars so you can really learn how to move as a creditor. Stop being a debtor. Fact of the matter is, man, most people are debtors. I really don't mean insulting people when I'm saying that. It's just true, man. Most people are debtors. Most people think like debtors. And so as long as you continue to think and operate like a debtor, that's exactly what you will be. And you will never be happy. And you will never live the life that you dream about. Because right now, most people are not living the lives that they dream about. Your lives are miserable. So be smart. Click the link below the video. I'll put it here one more time. And tune into the webinar tomorrow at 12 noon. Learn this stuff. It's not going to come overnight. But then again, nothing easy comes overnight. And by the way, man, order my books, DVDs, man. Read the books, man. If you really want this, man, you have to read the books at least 10 times, man. You have to read the books at least 10 times. You see what I'm saying? I guess that's careful in the room going on, man. You see what I'm saying, man? So that's what it is. Click the link, register for the webinar, and most high willing, I'll see you tomorrow. That's how we want it. Shout out to David, man. One of the realest, fairest dudes out there. Shalom, Kerfoot.